Everyone online says you need to scale with a course. And I say, sell the damn service. I'm Emily Williams, award-winning consultant and productized offer expert since 2014. And I'm here to help you work less, make more, and stop custom building your burnout. Each week, we talk strategy, structure, and the real stories behind sustainable service businesses. You know, from service providers who like doing service work, who want to stay in service work, but also just make more money. If you're ready for all that yapping, then let's dive in. There is a difference between bespoke services and white glove experiences, and I want to talk about it because you might hear those phrases right now and say, well, obviously, those are two very different things. But I want to talk about how it has seemed like service providers are confusing the implication of one over the other. And they are prioritizing one when really they want the other. And they are pouring a lot of time and attention into one when the other provides a better result, is able to increase your capacity, and provides a better experience for your clients. So let's dig in. So a phrase that a lot of my clients use when they come into my world and start to productize their core container, their service, right? I ask in my onboarding form, what is your number one fear when it comes to productizing your service? And 99% of them say something along the phrase of, I'm afraid that I'm going to templatize everything, that it's not going to feel bespoke, that my current bespoke offers aren't going to be able to be productized in the way that I need or want them to, or that I'm going to get bored offering something that feels very regimented and structured, and that I'm going to lose the high touch and that closeness that I crave and that I want with my clients if I don't offer a bespoke service. So I see all of that, and I want to walk you through a thought exercise, so to speak, as to what you're saying you want to hold on to isn't the thing that's providing the result and the experience that you also say that you want. So in my world, a bespoke service, a bespoke offer means fully 100% custom and unique. It is a custom tailored offer, package, price, framework, method, deliverables, results, etc. It might be for a similar base of clients, but this is kind of like a fancy way of saying you're the yes person. Or if a client comes to you and as long as they're kind of in your ecosystem of your expertise, you're going to create a container for them, right? And they come to you and they maybe don't need the thing that you're currently pitching them, but if you tweaked it slightly, then they could definitely convert into that container. So we're going to create a new proposal and a new pricing structure and a new timeline and scope and deliverables and onboarding experience, because they're not getting the other thing that you already pitched because you want to land this client and you know that you can help them. That is a bespoke service. Some of it is done intentionally, right? There are definitely service providers out there and agencies who offer bespoke services in a more structured way, right? And dare I say they can do that because they've productized their methodology, right? Maybe we're offering a bespoke outcome and result, right? Maybe you're a web designer and the container is the same. The price is the same. The milestones, the framework, the method, the delivery is the same, but the result is a bespoke website. It's 100% custom for that client, or a copywriting experience, or an event, right? The end result is something you can't repeat or replicate for another client, but the container in which they received that result isn't bespoke. And so one, I want to make sure that if that's you, if that's the category you fall into, you don't have a bespoke service. You provide a bespoke result. And those are very different things, okay? The other side of this is the Jill of all trades, like I kind of mentioned. And this is where a lot of service providers fall. They want to land not every client, because at this point you have at least understood what your kind of red flags are and what your no-goes are. And maybe you've said no to some people But we've all been on a sales call where we're chatting with someone and we think it's going to lead to this direction of the container that we already have and that we know pretty confidently that this client could go through. And we start talking about it and the client says, this part sounds good, but I don't need that part. Or this part sounds good, but I also want this over here. And we say, okay, I can do that. I can make that happen. And we get off the sales call and now we are spending hours editing and tweaking and refining the proposal, editing the scope and the deliverables and the timeline and the assets, and then therefore having to tweak the price. We're going up, we're going down, we're figuring out what are they going to say yes to, but they wanted to take this out, but they're adding this, and they didn't really realize that this is more time in heavy versus the other thing that was in the container, which I'm able to do a lot faster or easier. Okay, so now that's got to adjust the price, but are they going to say yes to that container because this is what I presented them originally? That is like hot mess bespoke, right? And we've all been there, okay? I've been there. We've all been there. Part of it is kind of just like, learning what you do and don't want to do in this space, and that's fine. But when you're ready to graduate from that, and when you are at ceiling season because you cannot take on another bespoke container, right? Because it takes you a shit ton of time to craft the proposal and everything else that I've listed, right? Then you're at this position where you are not hitting the revenue you want to hit, or that is your next goal, but you cannot take on any more clients because even the act of selling and onboarding that client, not even onboarding, but selling and getting the proposal together for that client and that prospect takes you way too much time because it is so bespoke, okay? That is a different bespoke problem, right? So that's one part of this conversation we're having. The other part is what I call white glove experience. And this is a phrase that obviously I did not come up with. You've heard this phrase time and time again. White glove being the service provider or the person that you are working with is going above and beyond to over deliver in the experience. They are making you feel seen, heard, and taken care of. They are over communicating. They are showing up in ways that you did not expect them to. And the way that they can do that, the reason that they can do that is because their container and the method and the pricing and the delivery and the positioning and the scope is productized. When we know exactly what we need to do to get a result for our client, even if that result is bespoke, then we can do those things faster, easier, with less decision fatigue, and with less of our capacity, our brain power, right? So we can show up more. We can over deliver in service. I am pro over delivering in service and in client experience. I want to be able to have the creative capacity and the creative energy to record a Loom video when maybe historically I just would have written a quick email, to go ahead and say yes to a 15-minute Voxer session or a 30-minute call to do a check-in and a regroup because I know my client needs it, because the delivery and the framework and the assets, things that's happening behind the scenes is happening on its own, right? Because the systems of how I onboard, deliver, and work with my clients are built and working like a well-oiled machine. When all of that is happening and the decision fatigue of what needs to happen next with this prospect, with this lead, with this client is taken care of for me, I am able to introduce both systems and my own time to create a more white glove experience. And when we say, I don't want to give up my bespoke services, what we're saying is, I don't want to give up the experience that my clients have in working with me. I don't want to give up and when I say handholding, I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I love handholding my clients in a way that respects my boundaries and in a way that's actually beneficial to them getting the result that we're both after, right? I want you to be able to do that in a way that doesn't burn you out and doesn't piss you off and doesn't create this resentment between you and your clients. And the way that you do that is through productization. And so what I want us to not get confused about is saying, well, I'm afraid I'm going to lose the bespoke element of my service, when in reality, your fear is, I'm afraid that productization is going to templatize what it's like to work with me. I'm going to lose the high touch human element. And in fact, what happens is the exact opposite. When we productize the things that do not require a human element, we're able to show up more in our humanness and in our empathy and in our creative thinking and in our over delivering, right? My clients continuously give me feedback. I just got this feedback 7 minutes ago because I just ended a call, right? That said something along the lines of, I love how on top of everything you are. I love how on top of everything you are. What does that mean? What are they actually saying? I love that you identify and solve problems before they hit my desk. I love that you notice the details and you take care of them. I love that you're thinking about all of the small nuances of this project and bringing the important things to my attention and making decisions about what needs to happen because of your expertise. That's what that's actually saying, right? How am I able to do that? How am I able to really deeply and critically think about this client's project and notice holes or area of opportunity before we publish or go live or whatever it is, right? Whatever the done result of that particular piece of thing is. How am I able to do that? I'm able to do that because I have time and creative bandwidth to think about this project deeply. I have time to communicate these things to the client properly because the inner workings of it are being handled with systems, with templates, with productization behind the scenes. Productization is the scaffolding that supports you in creating a white glove experience. It's the scaffolding that supports you in showing up even more for your clients. I don't want you to show up less. I want you to show up more. That is the fun part, right? Not just doing the work and creatively thinking and advising and analyzing and being a high level provider, right? And partner in your expertise, right? The conversations that surround your expertise, but being able to do that in a space where you have that free time to think and to contribute. I want to give you another example of a marketing agency founder that I worked with where, she was in that kind of constant hamster wheel of wanting to reach her revenue goals, needing to pay for her team. Okay, we're onboarding clients. We need more clients. I'm in sales calls. We're onboarding clients. We need more clients. Where are we at in this project? And it just kind of feels like you're constantly not necessarily putting out fires. I don't necessarily love that phrase because I feel like I hear that phrase and I'm like, well, there's no fires in my business. That's not how it feels. But you're constantly like having to give your time and attention on making a decision about something and making something move over here and approve something over there, and probably still hand holding in a derogatory way your clients and your team in order to actually have them support you. And it feels like you have all of this support, but none of it's actually supporting you. None of it's actually helping you, right? So in the work that we did when we were productizing her container, is we did an audit of a lot of her services, right? And we eliminated what was the scope and the assets that weren't necessary in order to produce the bespoke result that she wanted to get her clients, right? And we streamlined what actually needs to stay in order for you to get that result. Okay, now that's what's left. How can we productize each and every one of those elements so that the ones where you get to show up, you get to actually do that? So over the course of, weeks and months, we worked together to do this. And one of the takeaways that she told me that happened after that I was so pleased to hear. So again, she's in marketing, right? What do marketing people need to do? They need to understand what is currently working in the marketing space for their unique industry. What's working, what's not working, what needs to be cut, what's the data, what's coming soon, what's the competition doing. It's research, right? It's constant market research about what is out there and what is working. And we all, to our own degree, have this in our own industry that we want to be educated on and know what is happening in the world today in our industry, what be on the up and up, right? So that we can advise our clients on the things that are actually working so that we can install those or do them in their project and in their container. But what was happening was she was so busy, and I'm just going to use the putting out fires because we understand what that means, right? She was so busy putting out fires all the time with her team and her clients that she didn't have the time, energy, or creative capacity to learn and to get to exist in her industry of go to conferences, go to workshops, Go to networking for the sake of improving your skills and your technique so that she can then apply that to clients. She didn't have the time to do that. And so they were always being reactive in their client meetings. Okay, well, this is what happened, and now we need to change this because this is the result that we want. Okay, well, how can we fix it? Everything feels like fixing instead of being able to create an actual game plan that is proactive and going to create a result that they're after without the panicked conversations, right? Without having to fix something that's broken, but rather roll out something that's been researched, tested, proven, right? So as we productized her container, as we injected cash flow runway by auditing her past clients and generating what I call hidden revenue, we were able to free up her, the founder, her capacity. And we got to then have a conversation about, what do you do? Where do you spend your time? I remember specifically she reached out to me on Slack and was like, it's all working, but now what do I do? What do I do with this 5, 10, 15 hours of freed up time per week? And I said, you get to be the founder now. You get to go to conferences for fun. You get to learn for fun. You get to listen to podcasts and read books and think and be in a space that allows for that creative energy to exist so that you can do your job better, so that you can live your life better. And I strongly believe, and I've seen this to be true time and time again, not only in my own life, but in my clients' lives, that when we prioritize creative white space, we do better in life and business. When we do better in life, we do better in business. When we do better in business, we do better in life. They go hand in hand, right? You going for a walk for your mental health is going to help you perform better in business. You getting to read a book for fun or do a hobby for fun or listen to a podcast while you start a new workout routine or cook your lunch in the middle of the day is going to improve you as a human in your life and in your business. And so what was happening was that she was able to quite literally read more books, listen to more podcasts, go to trainings, go to networking events to learn. And what did she do? She learned. She learned about the nuances of her industry and what was working now and what's something we could try and test and integrate. And then she got to ideate that with her team. And then they had the time to install those new strategies or aspects of their scope or their project. And it increased their client experience. It increased their client results. It increased the way that they were showing up and over delivering for their clients because she had the time to think about those things. And the only reason she had the time to think about those things is because we productized the actual container. We eliminated what wasn't necessary to produce the result. We streamlined the delivery. We offloaded and delegated where we could, and we bought her time back. And that might show up in 2 hours here, 5 hours here, 10 hours there. And how you choose to use that time is going to benefit your business regardless of the choice. If you choose it to end your day early and have a hobby and go for a walk or introduce a new workout plan or read a book or listen to a podcast, doesn't matter. You having creative white space to learn, think, and just exist as a human benefits your business. And her getting to do that benefited the knowledge bank of her agency that she was running. Therefore, they were able to produce even better results for their clients, which meant clients were staying longer, referring easier, and they were getting noticed. If they were producing better results, they were able to share that. And it creates this ripple effect, right? And that is what creating a white glove experience does for you. She wasn't able to create a white glove experience until we productized. We productized by making sure we're not offering a bespoke container. We can offer a bespoke result, but not container, not framework and methodology and onboarding and delivery and scope and pricing and name, none of it. That has to be structured and productized in order for the result to be bespoke, in order for the client experience to be really kick-ass. And that is a huge win that every single one of my clients has the opportunity to get inside Sold Out Services. And I would love nothing more than to walk you through what that could look like for you in your own unique industry, container, and where you're at in your business, whether you have a team or not. Productization is my favorite lever to pull before you hire. Even if you never want to hire, productization is my favorite lever to pull when you have a team and you feel like you have all of this support but yet you don't feel supported, we need to productize. It's my favorite lever to pull when you start to feel resentful of clients and the neediness of them. That's when the handholding is derogatory, right? I want to move that into the positive. I want you to handhold your clients in a way that's appropriate for both of you. When you've hit your ceiling season and you have hit the current revenue that you're at, but you want more, productization is your answer. When you don't know how to talk about what you do, and you want to go after that visibility to start attracting clients that are outside of your warm network and warm referrals, productization is how we get there. If referrals have dried up because no one knows what it is that you do, so they don't know how to refer you, and you stopped getting amazing results because you offer such a bespoke container for every single client, productization is the answer, right? So first things first, if you're listening to this before March 12th, 2026, then you need to register for the webinar that I'm going to be running. That's going to absolutely blow your mind. You can register for free at soldoutservices.com/webinar. If you are listening to this after March 12th, then we need to chat about getting your booty inside Sold Out Services. You can learn more at soldoutservices.com/enroll. And inside that page, you can straight up enroll, or there's a little video ask plugin there that you're going to see my face in a little video, and you can asynchronously connect with me. You can type your message, record an audio or video, and I get that and I'll respond back to you. So soldoutservices.com/webinar, soldoutservices.com/enroll. Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Sell the Damn Service. I'm really honored that you spent however many minutes you just did with me. Now, if you could go do me a very quick favor and be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating and a review for this podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or, pick your favorite platform. I'm not going to be that choosy. It truly means the world to me. It's how little tiny shows that are like mine, that are self-funded and, being edited in between dinner time and school pickup, it helps us get seen. It's free for you to do and takes just a couple of minutes. And I would love you forever. If I could send you an edible arrangement as a big thank you, I would. So instead, consider this giant thank you directed just at you for going to do that. And share this episode or this podcast with a friend who needs to hear it. I love ranting and raving about service-based business strategies. And, I think more people should listen to this show, honestly. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I really am grateful that you're here, and we will chat very soon.